Good morning, everyone. This is Food is a Conversation Alumni Edition again. Today is session number 11, and you can see the scenery behind me changing continuously. I am about to leave Hungary, so this is my last live broadcasted from Hungary. And today I am very happy to have an alumna on the session who I had the privilege to work with since 2018 on a lot of projects. So, but before she joins the conversation, what are these sessions about? A few weeks ago, we started these live sessions to introduce the members of our ecosystem who attended any of the educational programs before, let it be the Food Innovation Master Program or the summer schools or the boot camps what we organize with FAO together. And now we are waiting for my guest, Chhavi Jatwani. There she is. Hi.
I'm gonna wait till you finish your introduction.
All right, thank you. All right, so these sessions happen twice a week, once on Tuesday, once on Thursday. We have different times in order to cover all of the time zones because, as you can imagine, our alumni is all over the world. And I encourage everyone to please post your questions in the chat. We will make sure that we answer them before we finish the connection. And what else? I think we could actually jump right in. You will see it's a very casual conversation. And Chhavi, the stage is yours. Please tell a tiny bit about yourself.
Thank you. Hi, Julia. This is so fun. Also, this is really like early for me. No, I'm kidding. So I'm Chhavi. I am a designer by profession and by training, and I've done several different programs around design, product design, food innovation. And I started working with the Future Food Institute almost 3 years ago. I joined in as a student and I hopped on board on the mission. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me, who I am and what I do. I just really work with food and the actors in the food supply chain, in the food industry, and try and help uh, however I can with my skills, with my training, how we can affect this large scale food system change, which is really embedding on us.
Yeah. So for the audience, Chhavi is actually based in Bologna at the moment, but she is from India. And am I correct that you are from New Delhi?
Yeah, it's a town near New Delhi, Faridabad.
Okay. All right. So, just about a bit of a history. If I'm not mistaken, you came to Italy already before you joined the Food Innovation Program. So, how did that happen? I assume that is somehow related to the designer path. And then maybe you can tell us a bit more about how do you see the role of a designer in the space of innovation?
Of course. So it's quite an interesting story because I did my undergrad in India as a product designer. It was like more than 4 years of training and like working with the most incredible minds of the country. Really, like you can see all the people that I worked with, all the people that I was trained by. They were really smart designers and educators and visionaries and whatnot and and I had a blast. I had an amazing time these 4 years. But when I got out of design school, the day I was graduating, I had this feeling. I was like, I don't want to be a designer. Like I did my exactly after spending 4 years or more in this space, 5 years actually. I did my thesis in Mumbai. And that's what really brought me in touch with the reality. And we were living in our bubble of the design world, and the real world was something else, you know. So what I'll tell you, like why I felt that I didn't want to be a designer is because this was at least like 8 years ago when I graduated from my undergrad. So design was different that time in India, at least. It was still new, it was still fresh, it was still associated with aesthetics and fashion design or graphic design was beginning to bubble up. And I really felt that design or designers are seen very close to artists, first of all, which I think they have like they're completely two different roles in the society, and they serve their purpose. And they were designers were really just brought in at the end to like, can you just make this pretty? Can you just make these things more marketable? And that used to just make me crazy because I would be like, did you even ask yourself why you're doing this before you come to the point of making it more marketable? And which is the problem with most, it's not just a problem that's associated with design or designers, it's just problem that's associated with our entire system is
Yeah.
up till this point we were not asking ourselves why. We were just making things and we were just making them pretty or bringing in designers to
Yeah.
sell, to make them more marketable. So that's when I really felt like there's a lot of like the decision making power or even the power to influence these kind of big systemic decisions, policy decisions, or even about what kind of manufacturing line you should set up, what kind of materials you should use. Designers were really brought in at the last
Mm.
minute, and I didn't feel comfortable about that. That's why I went then digging deep into how I came to Italy. Was really just trying to follow my instinct, because food is something that I derive like so much pleasure out of, and so much I really enjoy it. Like that could just purely be that I'm an extremely hedonic human being, like all of us. Uh, and then I was like, okay, is there something that I can do with food and design? And I started following a few food designers in Europe, and I was like, okay, let me try and explore that. So that's how I came to Milan, and I started this master's program. It was like the first program ever talking about food and design, and it was really experimental, really cool. We worked with really cool designers in Milan, but really experimental. It was 2 years around when I was in Milan. I was studying, I was working with these food designers, and which is that point when I realized that I am, you know, I don't know what's the politically correct way to say this, but I just felt like their design problems are not juicy enough, like there's,
Right.
yeah, I was making amazing food experiences, but it didn't like give me that adrenaline that you get by when when you solve a problem and you really truly create impact. And that's when I was like, I'm gonna go back to India, and there's gonna be lots to solve, I'm sure. Like there's gonna be. So when I met Sarah, I was ready to go back to India. I was leaving, and I was someone told me about this program, and I thought like, okay, let me try. Matteo Vignoli, our director, he said that, why don't you just come by on the opening day and see how you feel, and you can decide then if if you want to stick around. And it
Mm.
was big. Like I remember I fought with my mother about this. She was really not happy about that. She was like, okay, you're going there for the masters, but you finish the masters and you come back home the
Oh,
moment you
yeah.
finish it. Exactly. So I met Sarah there, and just hearing her incredible journey as an entrepreneur in Italy who's pushing the boundaries of food, which is so culturally strong here,
Yeah.
was really inspiring. And it was like the food innovation program actually was the only place where we were talking about mapping the entire food supply chain, identifying the loopholes, and really talking about the real issues, not talking about how to design a cool packaging or how to come up with a great marketing campaign, but really talking about how is our food grown, uh, what kind of conditions, talking about how is it manufactured and transformed, and how is it distributed, and what is the retail setting like, what are the the fair trade policies that we're looking at. So there's this whole very complex conversation about food system change, what's broken, what's working great, what can be fixed. And I really think that designers can't be kept out of this conversation. And
Yeah.
so it's like also my personal mission to also encourage designers all around. If you're listening to this, I try to like ping some of my batchmates from India, and it's like, okay, guys, join in. um, the idea is really to push ourselves to work like it's great to have an experience in a design studio. I think you learn a lot about methods and tools, and that's great. But also to go beyond and like put yourself out there into an NGO, or not even an NGO, like go work with a startup, work in a business role, work in a strategic role, like try things that go beyond the traditional scope of a designer, and that's when you really see how much good you can do there. Like
Yeah.
honestly,
I
um,
cannot agree more. To be honest, I just really hope that also the market for jobs will be also open for these different skills and mindsets and diversity to hire, because I think that's what the program gave us, to understand that we need to look into other elements or parts of the system in order to fully understand and be an added value and work together with these, so not to have those silos anymore. So we actually need the industry to also move towards this way of thinking. So that would bring me to my next question, actually, because after the program and with the Future Food Institute, you also had the chance to actually work with the bigger players of the industry. And those are then companies who I believe started to open their mind towards different not skills, that's not the word what I'm looking for, but it will come to my mind. So anyway, so you have worked with multiple companies, including Barilla, Dole, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, or and other companies. Can you please share a bit of insights and your experiences about that?
yes, of course. So Sarah, who's the founder, she has this incredible energy of getting really actors from diverse stakeholders from diverse industries, backgrounds together. And she really brought in these people to say, like, guys, there's something that we need to do. We need to do it together. And she believed in the idea that change cannot be brought individually. Change cannot be brought just uh, by one company, one startupper who is just like coming out, and he comes out with a great product, but that's not enough, because
Yeah.
to really drive system-wide change, you need to engage the big players. And that's when we started working with some of the biggest names. So Barilla has been our biggest supporter, and I've worked on several projects with them as well. They are actually what we would say, like they are like way mature and graduated in this whole world. Like they are experimenting with all kinds of design and research methods, and they're like, there's not much I can say for the, because it's also a lot of it is also NDA, but I think so. Barilla is a great example. One of the projects that we recently did with them, with also you were a part of, was they took on this mission of teaching young people and teaching university level people how to cook well. So they are also lucky enough to be on a territory which is like one of the main territories for the Mediterranean diet. And if you know something about food, you would know that the Mediterranean diet is one of the UNESCO certified World Heritages, and it basically means that it's one of the healthiest ways you can live and you can eat. It's not just a diet, it's a lifestyle. And Barilla took on a mission to go to Germany as their first target country and be like, okay, we're going to teach people how to cook great Mediterranean food really easily in their homes with local ingredients, and how they can eat healthy and eat better. So the stereotype mostly, or it's even true, is that when you're at the university, you're not really feeding your body, or you're not really treating your body that well, and you're maybe not eating that well. So how can we engage young students into cooking with their friends, enjoying the act of cooking, which is also something that we're losing. Like I'm scared also in India, a lot of people are losing that touch with knowing how to cook their mom's recipes, their family recipes. So that was a really interesting project to work on, and it was a very interesting approach to marketing, because it wasn't just like I'm going to put out a huge communication campaign, but I'm actually going to engage people in something that's fun, that's educational, and something that that they can take back home with them. So that kind of I thought the approach to marketing was super interesting and innovative. And then we had this project with, I really want to mention because I'm really proud of it, is with Anheuser-Busch InBev. It's the Belgian AB InBev, as it's one of the biggest beer companies as well. So there we really started from um, like really from the start. So they had this ingredient that they had been working on, that they believed in, which is the spent grain flour. Like there are different names that you find in the market for it, which is basically what remains after the production of the beer, after the grains have been fermented. So that mass is really nutrient rich. It's very high in protein, very high in fiber, and how can we valorize that, which right now is a mass industrial byproduct which goes to waste, it goes into landfills. It's really something to be valued and valorized. So they turned it into a flower, and they came to us and they said that, let's find a way what we can, different applications. And we really started from studying the needs of the users, really asking them questions. Okay, in your current lifestyles, in the current offer on the supermarkets, or what does it feel that you would like to better, or what can be made healthier, or what can be something that can act as a vehicle to deliver more nutrition to you.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we followed we followed the design thinking process. We did need finding, we did lots of research, came up with the problem opportunity fit, and we came up with several applications that hopefully through the next couple of years we'll roll out into the market. So yeah, these are just a couple of
That's so
examples.
nice to actually, as you said, to follow the process from the very beginning and then actually see it materialize, and you see the product maybe on a market shelf or in action if it should be rather a service than a packaged product. So you have been working on a method over the last months, year, which is namely the ingredients for food system innovation. So I would love to hear this, and what is that recipe, what we are getting out of this at the end?
Yes, so there's nothing, we're still working on it, but the idea is really to try and map out what is it that we're doing that's working. So Future Food is a very, it's a very special company. It's a very new business model. It's a very different way of looking at problems, looking at consultancy, looking at education. So just to give you a little brief, at Future Food, we do three different, like we try to drive impact in three different ways. So one comes from community building. So when you say that, how can I just start talking about this? How can I just start creating the conversation with anyone and everyone around me, globally as well, about food, how food can help, how you can eat better, how you can make better choices for the planet, and just drive a dialogue around that. So we do a lot of community building efforts around the theme of food sustainability and innovation. And then we have a direction where it's not just enough to start the conversation, because you also need to give the people the tools to actually go and do something about it. So we have another vertical, which is education. We train climate shapers, we train food shapers, we actually have like short and long educational programs, one of which I was a part of, where we really teach you what it takes to design a good food system together, and you learn about the entire supply chain, as I mentioned before. And then we're like, okay, we're educating, we're sending out these trained people into the world, but they can't do this enough. They have to be in the right position, into the hands of people who really hold some power over our food system, which is where the innovation comes in. So innovation with large companies, working with R&D departments, R&D teams of these large food companies, food manufacturing companies, is where we it's in a traditional way, if you look at it, it could be called consulting, but it's really so much more than that, you know, because you're bringing in not just a method, but you're bringing the entire ecosystem knowledge, the
Yeah.
entire ecosystem mm,
The
expertise,
resources. Yeah.
resources onto the project. So the ingredients that we're trying to begin to map out of what it takes to do good innovation and impactful innovation and positive innovation. So one of them is ecosystemic thinking. So which is like the starting point. It starts from saying that I'm not going. It's also very linked to the open source movement, right? Because it's not saying that I'm gonna put out an innovation, I'm gonna put it in a black box and then I'm going to hope it sells. No, because it's really about understanding all the other stakeholders. It's really about collaborating to create innovation. That's one part of it. And then it's really about not just thinking in silos, thinking of the entire cycle, the entire chain. For example, the AB and Bev, they were like, okay, we're not going to go and produce this flour just because it's protein rich. It's a byproduct. How can we complete that cycle? We're a beer company. We don't think we can ever get into consumer products like
Mm-hmm.
bakery, pasta, and stuff. But how can we connect to another player who can really take this like tons and tons, millions of tons of byproduct and channel it into value added products? And that's the kind of thinking that you're really looking for, right? That it's AB InBev didn't say that, I'm just gonna make this really nutritious, products out of this, and I'm gonna get a market share of that. No, that's not the point. It's
Yeah.
really about putting together the links. It's about thinking of the entire system, not just in the silos. It's really about finding new collaborative models, because right now we don't have economic models that exist, or financial models or business models that allow collaboration between competitors. Like Future Food is probably one of the first people who's actually going and collaborating with other consultancy companies and be like, okay, you know, you have something, we have something, our client needs something, let's put together and us our forces and try to drive change. So that's
Yeah.
definitely one. Another one is the way we approach. We have a very strong team of culinary design and gastronomy design, um, gastronomy sciences, actually, more than design, I would say. And I think that becomes a very crucial ingredient when you're talking about food product innovation, because it's not saying one thing. It's not saying I need a food technologist. It's not saying I need a food scientist. It's saying that I also need a chef.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I'm not talking about a restaurant, I still need a chef. I still need a person that comes with the culinary sensibilities of creating really high quality sensorial experiences.
Yeah.
And attached with that, it has to be grounded in science. It has to be grounded in nutrition. It has to uh, put out something that's healthy. It has to be innovative in terms of new techniques, like merging new and old. So the teams that we are working with, they work a lot with fermentation. Fermentation is like an ages old technique
Yeah.
of food preservation, but they're using it in such creative ways. And our hope is that like these large companies are going to actually, allow us to bring in this culinary science innovation in the team. The third aspect of this becomes research, user centered and planet centered research. So you can't start a problem looking at a problem by looking at the solution. That, this is really cool, I'm just going to go out there and make it. It's not about that. It's really about going out there and seeing what the planet needs, what users really need. So user centered design is something which is like the core of design thinking, and that's what we truly believe in. We uh, we any project that we start with the research phase, a need finding phase, where we go out there and interview our users. And then you tell me how I'm doing on time.
You are doing just fine. Don't worry.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Uh, yeah. So starting from, and so now the piece that we are adding is not just human centered design, but also planet centered design. again, the example of AB InBev, they're not just, it was a planet problem, that all that waste was, all that nutrition was being wasted, not coming back to the human food supply chains, and a lot of it ending up in landfills. So how can we take a planet problem, merge it with a user problem, and create new solutions? But to do that, you really need to first focus on research, and that's why, like, I think design researchers are also very, very powerful in this space. The third aspect of it is the product design, the food design, the interaction design. So really understanding about the form. So that comes from my background of ergonomics and usability, and it really just goes beyond the shape of the product. It goes beyond in studying the interactions of the packaging, studying interactions of how is it like spoonable, how deep is the spoon going, is it a lollipop, how am I eating that lollipop, is it is it something that I have to break and then crumble on my cereal? And so really like understanding. So that's one level of interaction. Then another level of interaction is our lifestyle interaction. So thinking about we millennials, or whatever, Gen Z, what you want to call it, we are like living completely different lives and routines than our parents, for example. Like our motivations are completely different. Why we do things, why we wake up in the morning is completely different. So how can you leave that out of the picture? How can you just be like, I'm just going to design for the 3 square meals? No, we're not eating 3 square meals anymore. We're eating like 5 to 6 small bites throughout the day. So understanding how the product interacts with your life and designing for it. So it's food design and product design elements that come into play. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, this is definitely something that should be applied by multiple stakeholders in our food supply chain. I think there is no better time than now to actually kick off these collaborations, and I do see some of these initiatives popping up. So that gives us a really good outlook for the future. And so now, because we are approaching the end of our conversation, instead of asking the usual question about how did your consumption change over last weeks, I would like to hear a bit more about food as clay.
Yeah, how much time do I have? It's really a very simple answer. So I'm thinking, wait, I can't see the time. What time is it? Okay. Anyway, so food as clay was really yeah, when I started toying with food, of course, like everyone does that. Let me find a cool Instagram handle. But that was basically the thought process that was behind it. But what I was looking for, I started toying with food. I wasn't sure where I'm headed with it, and I was looking at it as an artist or a sculptor. You would say, like, what is their medium of expression? So what is an artist's medium of expression? It's paint, it's colors, it could be. What is a sculptor's medium of expression is clay. So that's the idea, that I'm using food as my medium of expression, as my medium to put out a larger message onto the world, or to create impact, whatever that means. And that's why food is clay for me.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining this morning. It was a very insightful conversation. In terms of the visibility of this video for the future, thanks to Instagram, our system changed, of course. So now it's not just 24 hours when you can rewatch or listen to this conversation anymore, but it will be, after we finish the conversation, it will be immediately available on IGTV, and you can rewatch it whenever you want. So please share the word if you think this was something what gave you a new input and insight and inspiration. And we will continue these conversations. I am really excited about the next person next Tuesday. So stay tuned. And Chhavi, thank you so much and have a lovely day. I hope I can see you very soon over a glass of wine instead of a digital device.
I hope so.
All right.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye.
Bye.